Hello, everyone. Pastor Jamal Bryant, the fiery and charismatic leader of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Lithonia, Georgia, a man whose sermons electrify congregations and whose name has become synonymous with both influence and controversy, has once again been caught in another church scandal. And this latest development has reignited old wounds, stirred fresh debates, and left both his supporters and critics questioning how many times one leader can survive the storm before the legacy they're building begins to collapse under the weight of repeated missteps. To understand the gravity of this moment, one must remember that Jamal Bryant is no stranger to scandal, having lived through a tumultuous career that has included public admissions of infidelity, accusations of abuse of power, financial scrutiny, and the ever-present whispers about his lifestyle and choices not always aligning with the standards expected of a pastor shepherding thousands. His charisma and ability to deliver sermons that blend biblical truth with cultural relevance have made him a sought-after figure not just in the church but also in politics and media. Yet those same qualities, his boldness, his confidence, and his unapologetic embrace of being a public figure, have also fueled criticism that he is more focused on being a celebrity than a servant. Now, this new scandal, which insiders describe as yet another instance where Bryant's personal life has bled into his ministry responsibilities, has once again shaken his congregation, with many feeling disillusioned by what they see as a pattern rather than an isolated incident. And while the exact details continue to emerge, the mere fact that Jamal's name is tied to another controversy has triggered a wave of frustration, disappointment, and in some cases outright anger from those who had hoped his previous scandals would have served as lessons and turning points. Reports suggest that the scandal involves inappropriate interactions that blur the line between pastoral care and personal indulgence, raising questions about accountability structures within New Birth and whether Jamal, despite his many gifts, has been granted too much freedom and not enough oversight. In his defense, Jamal has often leaned on the rhetoric of redemption, acknowledging his flaws while emphasizing God's grace, and it is that very message of second chances that has allowed him to bounce back time and again. But with every new controversy, critics argue that his apologies begin to lose credibility and that the cycle of scandal and forgiveness risks undermining the very integrity of the gospel he preaches. For his loyal supporters, however, Jamal remains a man anointed for such a time as this. Someone unafraid to confront social injustice, engage culture, and speak truth to power. And they argue that his humanity, his very imperfections, are what make him relatable and effective in reaching those who might otherwise dismiss the church as hypocritical or irrelevant. Yet the broader body of Christ is now being forced to wrestle with the difficult question of how much grace is too much grace when it comes to leadership, and whether a leader who repeatedly stumbles in the same areas can still be trusted to guide others without leading them astray. Social media has erupted with heated debates, with some demanding his resignation and calling for New Birth to prioritize healing over brand loyalty, while others have rushed to his defense, pointing to the biblical examples of leaders who fell short but were still used by God in mighty ways. Meanwhile, the scandal has drawn the attention of mainstream outlets once again, further feeding the perception that Jamal Bryant is a lightning rod for controversy, a pastor whose name now carries as much scandalous weight as it does spiritual authority. For Jamal himself, this moment represents yet another crossroads, whether he will finally confront the root causes of his repeated failures and submit to deeper accountability, or whether he will once again lean on his charisma to weather the storm, only to find himself caught in another scandal down the line. What makes this particular scandal feel different is not just the details, but the fatigue it has generated among his followers, many of whom feel they can no longer defend or excuse behavior that appears to be part of an unbroken cycle. And as the Jamal's church world future watches hangs in the balance. Will this be the scandal that finally forces change? Or will it be remembered as just another chapter in the long, complicated, and controversial story of a pastor who has always managed to rise from the ashes, even as the flames around him continue to grow hotter? One thing is certain. Whether you see him as a flawed vessel of God's message or a symbol of everything wrong with celebrity-driven Christianity, Jamal Bryant's latest scandal has once again reminded us that the line between redemption and reputation is thinner than we like to believe, and that the choices of leaders do not just impact their own lives, but ripple outward into the faith, trust, and spiritual well-being of those who look to them for guidance. Thanks.